Hi, welcome back to another edition of our Larkin Square Virtual Author Talks. I'm Leslie Zemski, coming to you from just over the hydraulic hearth, which happily looks right over at Larkin Square. Well, yes, it is empty right now. We hope that before we know it, we'll be welcoming back people like Ann Hood, one of our favorite authors. So we look forward to a future time. But in the meantime, we wanted to bring you some Larkin in your living room. And we've been reaching out to favorite authors, and Anne is for sure one of our favorite authors. Well, she's not from Buffalo. She's an adopted Buffalonian, I would like to say. Anne has spoken at Larkin Square twice. And Anne, welcome. It's such a pleasure to reconnect with you virtually. How are you doing right now?
We're doing great, actually. Of course, concerned about what's going on outside our windows and in the world. But writers stay home all the time anyway in their pajamas. So we're pretty much unchanged as far as the days go. We have a schedule of writing, which my husband's a writer too. So we're basically doing that every day. Of course, you miss the things that you can't do, like eating at a restaurant or going to see a play or something. But my son and his girlfriend are here from New York. They're refugees from Brooklyn. And my daughter, who's 16, is in school all day online. So those are kind of the changes that you adapt to.
Nice. Your most recent book is one that we would like to invite you to come back and speak about in person. But in the meantime, love to hear a little bit about Kitchen Yarns, any of Anne's books through Talking Leaves, which is great. And it helps keep our wonderful partner Talking Leaves going through this challenging time.
This is one of my favorite bookstores. And Jonathan knows that I always look forward to going to Buffalo and seeing all of you wonderful people. So it's nice to see your face here, Leslie. And I love Buffalo, you know that. So my most recent book is called Kitchen Yarns. It's funny. I was at a lunch with my editor and agent, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And I had just won my second Best American Food Writing Award. And they said, you should write a book collecting your essays about food. And I actually laughed. I said, I don't write essays about food. And they're like, but you just got this award. And I said, oh, well, it's unusual. And my editor said the thing every writer wants to hear. If you do that, I'd give you a contract tomorrow. So I was like, I think I'll go look at my essays. And I realized, really to my surprise, that over the years, I have used food a lot as a way to write about larger emotions. Kind of like a portal, into grief, love, hope, change, disappointment. And so I said, well, okay, I do. I have all these food essays. I collected them. Now, I'm a big fan of the writer Laurie Colwin, and she was a novelist and short story writer, but she also had a column in Gourmet magazine. And she just wrote these lovely essays, and then a recipe was attached to them. And that book, they collected it in a book called Home Cooking. And I kind of use that as my model. So chronologically, it's like a memoir, although a lot of the essays cover such large spans of time that it doesn't quite work, but it sort of does. So it's memoir-ish. And they're essays that just of the food I love to cook and eat.
Well, one of the things I loved is they were very approachable recipes, because exactly what you're saying, these are things that you actually cook. Is there a particular, maybe you could share one, kind of the gist of one of the essays and the recipe that went with it?
So I think sort of the essay that started the whole project or had my editor excited about the project is the last essay in the book. It's called Tomato Pie. And it's funny because Laurie Colwin, it's her recipe. And I made it for years. And in a way, it was one constant as life was changing. And so I talk about all the times I made it at beach houses that I used to rent with my parents and my cousins and my aunts and uncles, my large Italian family. And the recipe is interesting because when you say it, people are sort of like, I don't know about that. But you make a double biscuit crust, and the filling is fresh tomatoes, cheddar cheese, basil, and then a combination of mayonnaise and lemon, which you're like, that sounds gross, and that curdles, but it makes this really silky, kind of moist sauce. And it's the recipe most people have made that have read the book and have reached out to me. So I think the essay is appealing to them, and so it leads them to the recipe.
If it's okay, I'm going to ask you for the recipe and we'll share it in our post with
Absolutely.
this. Okay.
Great. I
We'll get some
will.
people
Yeah.
making it. Well, everyone, as you know, is looking for recipes right now.
Oh,
And
I know.
also, you're known for knitting, obviously, with
Yeah.
all the books that you've edited and yours. Are you knitting right now? Or are there any, besides writing and cooking, are there any things that are helping you during this time of home sheltering?
I'm knitting a lot. As luck would have it, right before the lockdown, I had ordered a lot of yarn to make a sweater. And what I have to say is I am not a sweater knitter. Like, I'm always kind of envious of people like, I've knit this jumper and I made these leggings, and I do like scarves and hats and, fingerless gloves and like short projects. But I just bought all this. I was inspired to do a sweater. So it has taken up several hours of every day. It's almost finished. I knit so much today that my fingers hurt on my right hand because I'm on the home stretch with this thing. Now I cannot wait to see if it actually is going to be a sweater. Like, I can put it over my head and my arms will fit appropriately. So it's a very exciting project.
Nice.
So
You can knit some face masks.
I should actually. My daughter sews, and she made us all a face mask. But I'm reading a lot, and I understand a lot of people have reached out to me to say they haven't been able to read. Their concentration is not so great, and I get that. But I'm having sort of the opposite response. I'm reading a lot, so that's nice because that's such a comfort.
Nice. Are you working on anything particular, writing a next book in mind, or anything that you'd like to share?
So I have finished 2 books in captivity. One is a new young adult novel called Jude Banks Superhero, and it's about a kid dealing with loss in his family. And I just finished a nonfiction book about my days being a TWA flight attendant.
Oh, that's going to be great.
It's so fun. I had so much fun writing it. And now I'll turn my attention to my novel. I've been working on a novel for a while. Novels take a really long time for me, like 3 to 5 years. So I'm going to turn my attention back to that. But I've been writing like the wind. It's been great.
All right. Well, it sounds like a lot of books that we would love to have you back for. You need to do the TWA, like a book launch at the JetBlue terminal.
Leslie, I've had that thought. I did an article, it's in Travel and Leisure this month, about the terminal, and they sent me to stay overnight. My husband and I went, and I cried like all the time when I saw where I used to come in, and like the gates and, the tunnel thing that they had. And then the room, they had all the first class TWA crystal and stuff is in the room, like at the mini bar. So it was really fun. So I want a big party there when we can have parties again.
All right, that'll be great. I'll look for a link to that article and we'll include that in the book. Did you have just an amazing outfit? Just everything about it. That was the era of like great flying, wasn't it?
Yeah, I flew from 78 to 86. And so I was sort of on the cusp of glamour to we start deregulation and things changing. But our uniform was designed by Ralph Lauren, but it was very military looking. It sort of ushered in that look. But in the hotel, there's a museum of all the uniforms, which is really fun. So,
all right. Well, Anne, anything else you want to share with Buffalo?
Yes, Buffalo, open up so I can come back, because I love visiting there, Leslie, and seeing you.
We'll have the yarn truck come back again. I hope that they're
I follow them on Instagram
with the yarn truck.
I love that yarn truck. It's the best. So yes, I want to shop there. I want to eat, where, and I want to stay right where you're sitting.
You have a place to stay and an open invitation. So we will be in touch. Meanwhile, and bring your husband, because we'd love to hear about some of his food writing. I gave his charcuterie book to my son-in-law, who he, as a sideline, is raising pigs out his family farm in Orchard.
Oh, wow.
From here, yes.
I'm sure he enjoyed it. Everyone loves it.
So I'm hoping that was the hint, like, okay, why don't you start doing some charcuterie?
Yeah, we'd like that. Well, we'll come together next.
That would be great. And thank you so much. Stay well. Keep knitting. You really inspired us, like, with so many things we can do this time. And I can't wait to share the tomato pie recipe with everybody.
Great. I'll send it to you as soon as we go.
All right, great. Stay well.